I'll try.
Let me whisper first.
If you're gonna get married to 4 wives.
Okay, yeah, go on, ask me that.
So mashallah,
yeah.
Mashallah, mashallah. Mashallah,
My sister who's Muslim is very pro polygamy, and to be honest,
like she's not Muslim, right?
No, she's Muslim.
Oh,
my sister converted. Yeah. So it's interesting that hearing a sister saying she's pro polygamy and understanding the reasons why and maybe accepting it.
Subhanallah.
Look, obviously your social life changes because you're not out in certain places. But in terms of my lifestyle, I think, and you mentioned it earlier, I'm still me. I still work hard. I haven't cut off completely from all my friends around me, my family. So I've tried to be as much of myself as I can be.
When you went to the Holy Land, you went to Mecca, Medina. What was the moment that really, what was the main memory that when you think of that, you think, that was it.
And I've got one memory from there, which is it beats anything else in my 2 years, to be honest.
Subhanallah.
2 years.
Allahu Akbar. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to the Young Smirks podcast, live from Hyde Park Speakers Corner. Alhamdulillah. We're here with a very special guest, and it's very special because of, subhanallah, the way we just met after 2 years, and I've been following your journey, and his brother Jordan. Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Wa alaikum salam.
How you doing?
It was good. I walked in, so I parked there probably about 5 minutes ago. I walked in, and when I did see you, it was like, hang on a minute. It was like, because I think you were standing in the same position as well. SubhanAllah.
Yeah, I know. So just a bit about brother Jordan. 2 years ago, I was in the park, and I don't come to the park much. And literally, I was just leaning against the barrier, and we started speaking, didn't we?
I remember you were wearing an orange hoodie, an orange rain jacket, hooded up, and I could just see it looked like a South Park character almost.
Kenny.
Not sure.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I'm not sure. So
and we was having a really good conversation, and I heard that the very next day, you embraced Islam.
Yeah, I think it might have been a week, but it was very soon after.
Yeah,
it was very soon.
Very short time.
That
you'd actually embraced Islam, and that was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
And literally, I was just stood at the same. And I don't come to the park much, right? But I was stood in the same place, and you're there.
Yeah, and it's the first time I've been here all year. Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Well, you've not seen me, but I've been seeing you. I've been following you.
Yeah, and look, I appreciate the messages you've sent me messages throughout the couple of years as well. Yeah. Just asking them all right. So yeah,
alhamdulillah. So I mean, it's interesting because I've watched your journey. Because as you know, you've not only have you been a Muslim now for 2 years, you're actually kind of involved in dawa as well, and you see people become a Muslim.
Yeah.
But as you said, not everyone kind of follows it through. But you, mashallah, you've been to Umrah, you've got good brothers around you.
Yeah.
And I want to know a bit about your journey, bro. How's it been? Life after
I think
Shahada?
like you said, I think I've been very blessed to have the brothers that I had around me. And I often make dua that other brothers have, because the setup I've had, how can I, not continue? It's been, obviously we all have our challenges, but I've been, I've heard of some other stories, and you think, subhanallah, they've either been left, the families have left them, or we know what our challenges are, don't they? And after the shahada can be quite a. But how's life changed since my shahada? Because you asked me that as you came in, I was like, how do I answer it? Because it's obviously fitting all that into 2 years.
Yeah.
I think when I first embraced Islam, I think, to be honest, I knew I was a Muslim anyway. Even when I came and spoke to you here, you probably sensed I was asking you personal questions, because I wanted to know, did you lose this person? How did your family? I wasn't particularly necessarily, and I think I had a couple of issues on maybe things like Muhammad, peace be on him, splitting the moon in half, flying horses. I was asking you all these questions, which I think when I look back were really just cop-outs. And I was basically prolonging my shahada, because I was worried about a few things that happened in my life.
I could sense that, I could just sense that, like you said, it was already there. The belief was already there. And I actually, personally, kind of Allah, you never would have accepted Islam on that day, because you never did, right? But having said that, I actually believe that you may have become a Muslim that day. What do you think? Because we was actually
I remember speaking to you, but then I do remember a lot of other cameras coming along, and it changed. It definitely changed.
We was having a great conversation, and but with Hyde Park, obviously it's a setting of cameras. People come with cameras.
Yeah.
And I remember one guy saying, "Can you start again?" And I'm like, "It's not like that, bro." It's like, you know, like we was happy, kind of. I mean, you know,
I'll be honest with you. There were several times I wanted to run away. Even when I came to the park that day, I was hoping to. Just peruse all around in the back, see a couple of debates. I really wanted to meet Hamza because he responded to my Facebook messages, and it answered a lot of my questions. But yeah, I think I definitely didn't want to. And like you say, the Qadr Allah, I met a brother like you there on that day. All of EF Dawa were there. It was, you know, it couldn't really have been much better for me in terms of, you know, the people that I'd have met and the brother. Because I often wonder if I came down the park and met the wrong type of Muslim, or you know, what would my reaction be? I'd hope it would still be, you know, it's an intellectual decision, but I think the behaviour of other Muslims is very important. And mashallah, I went to eat in a restaurant after with the guys, even though I didn't take my shahada. But I remember Abbas, Mansour, Hashim, Imran, Hamza, we all went out to eat, and it was just such a lovely meal afterwards. And that had a big impact on me as well. When I went home, I thought, wow, you know, between my friendship groups, I've never experienced a brotherhood like that before. No one was judging each other. It was kind of just eating our food, discussions, and there was no pretentious.
Obviously they paid.
They paid,
you know,
which is weird. It's like, in my friends, we try and avoid, my wallet's in the car. with Muslims,
you know,
they'll pay halfway through the meal, and then you just realise at the end
like,
they've already paid.
I'm just going to the bathroom, and they pay, right?
Yeah.
And this is the thing, right? SubhanAllah, the generosity of the Muslims, they won't let you pay, you know. And I think that's a big point, that when you come to Islam, because obviously we had different social circles, right? We'd be going here, there, everywhere, nightclubs, whatever it may be. We've got a different social network, and it's kind of like you have to replace that. It's so important when you come to Islam.
Definitely.
It's not that we fall out with our friends, it's just that obviously we have a different lifestyle, right? So it's important that we find a different social circles, and you know, you meeting the brothers from EF Dawa, going out with them, it kind of shown you that, you know what, this could replace, you know, anything else that, you know.
No, I agree.
But I remember that day a brother just came in, you know, strong, just arguing with you, you know. I just like, I remember speaking to you for like a long time. We had such a conversation, literally, right? I was thinking this brother's going to become Muslim like any moment, and then our brother just came in and was just really giving it you, man. And I was like, oh, subhanallah.
Yeah.
And but alhamdulillah, the sincere person does not get put off by anything. And this is the evidence that it's Allah who guides. It's not me, it's not this man, it's not this man. It's with Allah. It's Allah guided you, but you decide, you know, you made that choice yourself. And
and I would say that, you know, I think there are different approaches to dawah, and I've often wondered, because the brother in question you're talking about very much slaps you around the face, you know, and I think the amount of time he and the other brothers have given me outside of here as well, you know, I went to Jummah with them after, and you know, they're like 24-hour phone service, and straight after my shahada I did have some wobbles, you know, where little things started to upset me, and I think your mind can be a bit fragile when you go into Islam, and I think that's why I was telling you earlier, there's like a year that if you can get past it and get your foundations, get your prayers. So I think when you've just taken your shahada, even your prayers are kind of, you don't really understand. You're doing the actions, but you're not really, you know, you're not really there. What I'd say, leading up to Umrah and then back, then I suddenly had no worries. It was like, you know, things were lifted off my shoulders.
This is the thing. I've been following you, you know, because mashallah, you know, I've seen that you went to Umrah with all the converts, mashallah. There was Isa was there. Yeah. I've not seen Isa for ages, subhanallah. You know, may Allah bless him. He used to come to see me in Ramadan. You went with Darren Hamza, right? You went. Tell us about your trip in Umrah.
Yeah,
it looked amazing.
Martin, Matt, the best brothers that I could imagine. To be honest, I was a bit sceptical of going, and I'll be honest with you, me going to Saudi, and even my mum was like, "You're going to Saudi," even though, even though,
just thinking like chopping heads
exactly. Even though you're Muslim, you still, in the back of your mind, you have an image of Saudi, of, like you say, a beheading in the middle of the street. You think, hang on a minute, if I do something wrong, or if they say, but it's fun. I went Medina, my favorite place on the planet now. Medina, I just fell in love with Medina. The peacefulness there. Mecca was mad. It was like a completely different experience. But obviously we had the Kaaba and we did Umrah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say the brothers I went with, each and every one of them, it was really special. The relationship we built there, and yeah, like you say, it's qadar of Allah. But I can't. Sometimes I think, am I just fortunate, or has Allah blessed me? And it's a really difficult.
Allah guided you, bro.
Yeah, it's been.
Allah says, He found you lost and guided you, bro.
Mashallah.
We were all lost. As you think you know everything, but we were lost, bro.
Yeah, but the problem is, like you, I reckon. I believed I wasn't lost. A lot of people say reverts are people that have come from prison. They're depressed, or I was actually fairly alright in my life.
Yeah. I was.
I didn't realise how lost I was. I was kind of happy in my delusions almost. But like you say now.
No, it wasn't like you wasn't like struggling. You're not like, I'm not being funny, but you're not like some guy who didn't have any friends or like a loner. You had a good social life. You were popular. You were known. You were just a normal average guy. But you realize that society doesn't have the solutions. That we need something more. There's more to life, and there's a creator. And but I've never asked you because I know that, is it your niece had a big part to play in you finding Islam? I know you've probably said this a million times.
That's fine.
Everyone always asks me as well, how do you become a Muslim? But look,
she'll love that you mention her as well. I'll show her the podcast.
Yeah, mashallah.
So,
but how, can you just tell us a bit about how that early beginning?
I think so. I'll be honest with you. When me and my sister fell out, but alhamdulillah we're fine now. But I always used to still see my niece, and I grew up with her, and I grew a real relationship with my niece. I haven't got kids myself, so it was she was kind of I used to love my weekends with her, and it got to a point where we'd go out to a restaurant, and she would start discussing things with me. And I remember her saying, Uncle Jordan, I don't want you to go to hell. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm a good person. I'm not going anywhere. But we had these kind of conversations. But I think I remember being a bit concerned that my niece, who I love dearly, was going to grow up as a Muslim, because I thought she's going to meet a guy that's going to treat her badly. She's going to have to cover herself. And I thought, I've got to try and look into Islam so I can explain to my mum that this is wrong, and I can try and get my family on my side. So almost probably take Iman away from, which would have been my motive. But as I started looking into it, why do women wear hijab? Why do men beat their? What does the Quran say about women? And the more I looked into it, the more even before I was even thought of myself, I thought, well, Islam is protecting women, and I grew up with women. I know how I've treated women in the past. I know how women are treated. My niece is now protected from all that. She can have the values to say to not be involved in that, and so I slowly started to be really happy that my niece was Muslim. And I think as I went on, then you start to look in the mirror and you go, hang on a minute, if this guidance is so good for her, what about me? And like you said about society, I started to reflect on society around me, and Islam seemed to have the solutions to a lot of the issues around, even if it's things like alcohol, gambling, sleeping around. Islam seemed to have all the answers, and so it started to grow, and then I started to really look into it properly.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. So since accepting Islam, what are some of the challenges you faced?
Yeah, good question. I think when I first converted to Islam, I think one of the biggest challenge was I found myself sometimes not wanting people to know I was Muslim. And that's not because I was ashamed to be Muslim, but I'm fully aware of how people perceive Muslims, and if you tell your friends, "Oh, I've converted to Islam," it's not like
they think we're crazy.
Yeah, it's not like I'm doing yoga and I'm a Buddhist. They go, "That's so cool." If you say Islam,
it's weird.
You see their mind looking worried, like this guy's getting a ticket to Syria or something like that. So
that's exactly.
And I found that bit tough to start to deal with.
I think with the white English community, the first thing they think of is terrorism. Yeah. They think that we've been brainwashed and that we're going to, do something.
In our book, there's an undercurrent of, and unfortunately that mindset has seeped into even grooming gangs and things like that have seeped into our media.
Yeah. And it's a genuine. I think it's a genuine concern most of the time.
Yeah.
Like my parents were genuinely concerned about me. They literally thought I was going to go and start fighting in a war or become a terrorist. And, you know, and it's difficult. And I was in a similar situation. I wasn't like wearing it on my chest. You know, I didn't grow a beard for a while. I didn't wear a thobe. You know.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
It makes sense
because a lot of people actually jump into that, don't they? They kind of dress as Muslim and start to. Yeah, I guess I was more like you.
Personally.
Yeah, me neither. No, me neither.
I don't even encourage changing the name.
No.
I think it's good. Like it's part of your identity.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree.
You know, there's absolutely no obligation to have an Arabic name. You know, many Sahaba didn't have Arabic names.
Yeah, but I've met reverts that weren't aware of that before they changed it. They're almost told by others. You know. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of challenges, you know, as a new Muslim, and undoubtedly, you know, like meeting a good group of brothers, you know, like EF Dawa. They've definitely, you know. I remember seeing you guys on the back of a double-decker bus, like having the time of your life.
That was brilliant. Yeah, we had an open-air double-decker bus, and we were in the middle of London driving past pubs, and there were people with beers going, and on the front of the bus it said Muslim Day Out or something. It was very funny, very funny. And I remember I didn't have a beard. Everyone else had a beard, so I was going, help me, they got me. But it was that was a very funny day out. Very funny.
So yeah, I mean, when you went to the Holy Land, you went to Mecca and Medina. What was the moment that really, like, what was the main memory that you know, when you think of that, you think, that was it.
And I've got one memory from there, which is it beats anything else in my 2 years, to be honest. And that's in Rhoda. Believe it or not, the Kaaba, as magnificent it was, I think, I don't know if you're the same. We're not grown up with the stories of the Kaaba. You know, for me, the Kaaba was magnificent, but it wasn't what people around me were reacting to it. And I started feeling, is there something wrong? But I spoke to someone else and they said, look, we grew up as kids hearing about this thing. Like, you haven't heard much about it at all. But yeah, in Rhoda, I don't know what happened in that place. I do believe something happened because I put my forehead onto the floor. And
just for anyone who doesn't know, what is the Rhoda?
Yeah, so there's a part in the Prophet's masjid that is known as Jannah. You know, they call it Jannah. You do 2 rakas in there. You've obviously been mad trying to get in. So the thing is, because what I struggle with in my Umrah experience is people pushing, and in Saudi people just shove you away. And I think as Brits we're kind of very much, this is my space, don't come near me.
We're not very touchy-feely, are we?
No, not at all.
We don't even hug our own,
not at all. There are even some kisses out there which I thought, no, that's too much. But yeah, I think in Rhoda, I remember my forehead touching the mat, and I remember just starting to cry. And all of these sort of issues that I had, I started thinking of my mum. I started thinking of all the worries I had, and it was almost like someone was putting their arm around me, saying, "It's fine. I got you now." And I honestly felt like that. And I remember coming back from Umrah. I was a bit depressed because I think. You come off a high, and then you come back to normal. You start walking around again. It's like, all of a sudden, rather than everyone walking to the masjid for prayer time, you're kind of wondering what time it is and trying to look for somewhere to pray. But yeah, I think I just remember when I came back, everything was off my shoulders. It was like, you know what? Whatever happens, I can lose my car, I can lose my house, I can lose everything.
But you're Muslim.
I'm Muslim.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah. And that was an amazing feeling.
And you can't take it out. No one can take it off you.
No.
Allahu Akbar.
No.
Allahu Akbar.
No.
You know, it's funny you should say that about the Kaaba, because again, we've not grew up with these stories. I remember when I seen the Kaaba, I didn't cry. You know, yeah, mashallah, we see the Kaaba. But when I went to Jerusalem, because obviously I grew up as a Christian, right? So I never believed it, but I grew up. But obviously all the stories of Jerusalem and the prophets in Jerusalem, I cried. Because, obviously Christianity shares a lot of the same history with Islam, so it all came back. So then I realized, okay, that's what it is. It's, it's that kind of emotional upbringing. But the round is, how was the pushing and shoving? Did you have to queue for a long time?
But the problem is what they do is that they do it in it's like 100-meter sprints, isn't it? And then it stops, and I really struggle with being shoved in the back, and when I go back next time, it's my own sabr. I need to improve it because it was something I really struggled with. But that's part of the reason why I found it so amazing, that my actual experience when I got inside, because I was in all sort of like frustrated and angry, but like I said, my forehead hit the mat and something else happened, and so yeah, it was.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
Yeah.
Amazing. You know, I think it's a great thing for new Muslims to try to go to Umrah as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree.
think I mean, it's good to visit a Muslim country, but I think Umrah is like, of course, it's a lot cheaper these days, you know, with the new visa thing.
Yeah.
Hajj is a bit expensive, but Umrah, it's a good kind of introduction to make you feel a part of the Ummah.
Yeah.
Feel that it's a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, because we're here as a minority in the UK, right? But we don't realise that there's so many Muslims around the world, right?
Yeah.
You see them from all over the world, different colours, different tribes.
That was amazing.
And subhanallah.
Yeah. When you walk around Mecca and just seeing everyone darting around, and like you say, there's an Indonesian face, a Turkish face, an African face, and you suddenly really that experience that I think Malcolm X talks about when he went there. That we don't see colour here. There is no. It was like that. So alhamdulillah.
Subhanallah. So what advice would you give to like people who are kind of looking into Islam, and maybe like new converts as well?
Yeah. So I think for a convert, I would always say the easiest thing is I think when I converted, I started to come down here a lot. I started to look into things, and you've only got so much time. I think that after the 5 pillars, after Shahada, it's Salah. It's getting that prayer down. Because once my prayer was down, all of a sudden you're less likely to slip. You're less likely to wander. And you've got to be holding on to that.
And you're going to slip.
Yes, you're going to slip.
You don't just take Shahada and all of a sudden you're like an imam.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
And that's a good point, because I've met reverts that have almost left Islam because once they've taken their Shahada, they feel they have to be perfect. And obviously Allah doesn't expect that of us.
I mean, let's be real, right? Most Muslims are doing things that are wrong. Not most, but a lot of Muslims, they might not even be praying properly. They might be doing sins. They might be doing that. But they're still Muslim, right? But it takes time, to actually practice and get in the habit of leaving all that, the past life.
That's right, yeah. And I think people looking into Islam, sorry, did I cut you off there?
No.
Yeah, people looking into Islam, I think firstly is be careful of your sources. If you type in Google any Islamic topic, the first 10 options are going to be anti-Islam sources. And I did find that even when I was looking into Islam, I thought, hang on a minute, that's not saying the same as that. So I thought, hang on a minute, clearly someone's lying here. And I think, look, if you want to learn about Islam, go to the Muslims, go to the Islamic sites. So I'd be careful of your sources. And the other thing I'd say is, I mean, obviously for me, I know it's the truth, but there are so many delay tactics. Shaitan plays, there's so many delay tactics. And your Shahada, you're really talking about the keys to paradise. You're not talking about, it's not like, oh, next week I'll try. Really, you've got to realise the urgency of it, I think. And it's not to scare somebody, but you hear a lot of reasons why, I'll look into it a bit more. I knew about it. And I think I even said to you, or somebody, I said, I need a couple of years, to get really knowledgeable with Islam. But you don't. You don't.
No, you learn as you go along.
Yeah.
And you definitely had enough. That day, bro, I was like working hard for a long time. I was like, inshallah, let me just keep going. And I thought this guy's gonna, and then subhanallah. But
I'd looked hard into it before I met you. I was really looked into it, every area.
I was so happy. You'd found Islam yourself. You'd done your research. You'd done, you'd put the time in, done your study. You were convinced. And I was just so happy when the announcement came that I seen you with the brothers. I was like, Alhamdulillah. And I was happy, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, well, like I say, Jazakallah for keeping in touch, and like I say, that going back that day 2 years ago, it was certainly. I remember going home that night thinking, what has happened? It felt something, because it was a beautiful day. It was.
So tell us a bit about what have you been up to? I mean, you've been to Umrah, but what else? I mean, how has your life changed?
Yeah, so,
as a Muslim.
Yeah, I think look, obviously your social life changes because you're not out in certain places. But in terms of my lifestyle, I think, and you mentioned it earlier, I'm still me. You know, I still work hard. I haven't cut off completely from all my friends around me, my family. So I've tried to be as much of myself as I can be.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah, being Muslim doesn't mean, and I see it a lot where you shouldn't have non-Muslim friends. You shouldn't do this. You need to dress like this. You need, like you say, call yourself this. And I think even for dawah, you know, me and you sitting here, someone over there is not necessarily going to look over here and necessarily think we're Muslim. And it does something to your mind. I remember seeing Hamza debating in the park, and something clicked because I saw a lot of other brothers. I saw a lot of the brothers talking, and they made sense, but they didn't have the same. I couldn't relate to them. Definitely. And I know that sounds strange, but
seeing an Englishman,
seeing someone from my own native
people. The Prophet ﷺ was sent to his own people.
Yeah,
every prophet was sent to their own people, right? And from amongst themselves, you know, and there's a wisdom behind that. Yeah. You know, same with me, seeing people like Abdurrahim Green. I say it all the time, seeing all the Abdurrahim Green, Yusuf Estes, people like that. I was thinking, whoa, I can actually be a Muslim.
Yeah.
You know, I'd already believed it myself.
Yeah.
And when you see, like you said, you're seeing Hamza. Some, you know,
and you know, he's got his football casuals on.
Yeah,
I think if Hamza was in a robe and stuff like that, I think I'd be looking, going, I don't quite relate to this guy. You know,
I mean, he looks like the typical, you know, white English guy.
Yeah, he's a geezer.
You know, a geezer. Yeah. But he's a Mancunian.
Yeah,
he's from you know, we're both Mancunian, right? So alhamdulillah, and he supports United, mashallah. So you know, but at the same time, he is, you know, he's like the local lad, you know, and he, mashallah, he's done his research, he knows what he believes, and you know, he's confident.
Yeah.
And you see that and you think, wow, like, you know, how does he know all that information? You know, how did he, because you know by looking at him, you know where he comes from. You know what type of background he's from. But you're thinking, how do you know all this information? You know, and you can only learn that if you believe it, because you're so dedicated to it. 100%. Most converts have never even read a book until they become a Muslim. It's like they start to actually research and you know, all of a sudden become interested in seeking knowledge. Yeah, alhamdulillah. So how have you kind of gone in sense of studying Islam since being a Muslim? You know,
that's a good question. Yeah, because I mean, to be honest, YouTube lectures have been great, but I think that's how I started really.
What type of lectures?
To be honest, I wasn't particularly. I was recommended a few scholars to stick to, but I was listening to a whole variety of stuff and sort of making my own mind up from a lot of stuff. But then I started looking into schools of thought as well, and that's not easy to know either. I don't know what your position on that should be good. So, but I think in terms of reading, I have. I've been sort of taking book recommendations off brothers that I trust, because I'm sure there are probably books out there that I shouldn't be reading as well. And so that's how I've really continued on at the moment.
I think it's important as a new Muslim to get a good basic understanding of Islam, a good solid firm foundation, and living in the West.
Well, things like Tawheed, I learned that quite late, and I think, and that's a problem.
Details about
I was Tawheed, you know, around here a lot, and my mind was also
like of course you did know Tawheed.
Yes,
you know, you knew about one God, but it's just that it's more about learning how to articulate and think, and you know, kind of codify your belief. You know, so I think that's important to kind of direct on how we think about Allah, how we know about Allah. You know. And I do think it needs more effort from the new Muslims as well. I think
Isn't it amazing the time we're living in?
A bit lazy. Some Muslims not putting enough effort.
I agree. And there's no excuse now, is there? There's so much information out there now for us. It's literally on our phones. You know, I can go on and there's PDFs and stuff that you can read.
Books, free books. You know, courses. You name it. You know, back in the day when 20 years ago,
I don't know how Revert would do it.
Stuff,
I don't know, really, you know.
Now, also, of course, when that first day we met, people were filming. I think EF Dawa, you know, you spoke to Hamza and the EF Dawa brothers, and you've actually become a part of their team. I've noticed, especially in the lockdown, I've seen your face flashing up. Also, sometimes I've seen your name, but then your camera's not on. I'm thinking, oh, is it?
Having a bad hair
But
day.
I've seen that you're not just in the background. You seem to have been taking a leading role in terms of organising the podcasts and lectures.
So I started live streaming on YouTube and stuff, and to be honest, I've always been unsure because as a new Muslim, should I really be online on YouTube? I'm very conscious that I'm not giving out knowledge and stuff that I don't have. You know, a lot of it is I've noticed that people quite like to follow a revert's journey, and there may be reverts watching who have the similar issue. So my channel is very much along those lines. But then EF Dawa, obviously over the lockdown, there's no content and stuff. So I did say to the guys, look, we can actually live stream here, and I had Abbas on me Abbas on a lot of the topics, and we would organise sort of topics, and Abbas would study, and I'd do a bit of studying, and yeah, we'd put out regular content because over lockdown we're also very conscious that many Muslims will be isolated and not necessarily much to do. So we tried to do as much as possible for that reason.
I think it's been a benefit. You know, the Muslims actually going live, and
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. So because there are a lot of people out there that are isolated even outside of lockdown, you know, and we can reach people now through our phones.
It's amazing to see you go from, you know, non-Muslim coming to the park to actually being engaged in calling to Allah. How do you feel like being a part of Dawa?
Sometimes it's weird, you know. I was on an IERA stream fundraising the other day, and I think IERA, this is, you know, I used to look it up and think, wow, IERA is like this, you know, and now I'm on it, and it is quite a, you have to sort of pinch yourself, but like you say, it almost feels qadr of Allah, you know. You just these things keep happening, and I always keep reviewing, like I say, how often should I be online, what should I be doing online, and alhamdulillah, I'll keep going until
Well, what's the plan now for your future? You know, I know you was just telling me just before we started that you would like to do more Dawa in Africa.
I would. I'm very much interested in. I think there are different areas of Dawa, isn't it?
Yeah.
To me, Dawa means invitation. You know, so to me, and this is my personal view, me spending time exposing people or necessarily fighting a different religion, I don't really feel that's where I would rather be fundraising and doing things in places like Africa and things. I think, you know, if Dawa are looking into that as well, and
I'm not sure if you know, but I work in Africa.
I've heard. So we'll definitely have a chat.
I have to bring you out and
and I think, look, you got the Yemen crisis and things like that. These are where we should really be focusing our energies on.
You know, the thing with, there's a lot of calamities, you know, Syria, Yemen, etc. But you do find that in these tough calamities, people do actually come back to Allah. There's lots of examples of it, like Syria. Even before this war, the previous wars in Iraq, also Libya, also Kuwait. That many people you find that war brought them back to Islam.
Interesting.
That you find that a lot of these countries, a lot of them left hijab and things like that, and I don't know, it just kind of made them come back to Allah. So sometimes you're thinking, well, what's worse? Sometimes we're thinking we're here in the West and we've got it all sorted, we've got an easy life. But at the same time, the youth are having a big crisis on their iman. When we go to places like Africa, in certain countries, not all countries, some people are losing their iman, they're becoming Christians. So when you balance it, you think, well, I think personally that these are really important places to give dawah, you know, like places like Africa and Indonesia, places where people are actually leaving their faith, and it's simply just educating people about Islam properly in order for them to stay in the fold. You know, it's not that they leave Islam, they never knew the real Islam. So it's like giving them the correct information to keep them in the fold, you know.
That's a great point. Great, because I've talked about it because I have heard, you know, because I'm doing a Yemen fundraiser currently on my channel, and I have heard, you know, that you have people that are not even getting their next meal and they're praying 5 times a day, you know. But I think, like you say, maybe these things brought you closer. I've often wondered if my concern is eating, how concerned am I going to be about praying? That's all in the back of my mind. But I think you're right. Maybe the flip side is it brings you closer. But yeah, may Allah make it easy for them.
I mean, so what other plans do you have?
So I think my plans are, at the moment I work very long hours, so I find the time that I'm putting into dawa is very last minute, very rushed. Even coming down here I decided a couple of hours ago, all the stuff on my channel generally, I'll be sitting in my car thinking, oh, I've got an hour free, and I'll go live or something. But I would like to be a lot more involved. I think I'd like to free up more time, and I've got, so inshallah, things in my life hopefully changing where I'll get more time. And then I would like to dedicate more time, like I say, into actually genuinely inviting people to Islam. I don't really know what shape or form that is. I'm kind of thinking I would like to see big organisations working together online and stuff like that. And if I can be any part of that, obviously I'm not a big organisation, but I'm saying if we can link it together and all be together, I'd like to be involved. I don't feel currently we necessarily have that.
Yeah, it's difficult. Obviously, different organisations are doing different specialities, slightly different opinions about different things.
Yeah.
I think the main thing is that we need to appreciate each other, even if you're not necessarily working together. Not attack each other.
Yeah.
Kind of appreciate that. You might not agree on certain things, but here, living in the West, we have to have a level of coexistence and be able to work together in some way. We don't have to expect everyone to agree with us on everything.
Yeah,
and we see there's a lot of problems, even amongst IEs and things like that. And I hope,
Yeah, and I kind of see it as just an off comment. When it's a bit like when you have a family that they're almost very close. You tend to bicker and you tend to. If we can cut that bit out, we'll be very strong, a lot stronger. And inshallah, and like I say, I think for me, I'd love to be involved in dawah wherever I can. For me, it's building more time in my life. It's very time consuming, as you know, I'm sure. It's but it's worth it. It's worth it.
Have you managed to travel to any more Muslim countries?
No, I mean I've been to Indonesia as a non-Muslim.
Yeah.
But yeah, since then I haven't to be honest.
Would you ever think of living or trying to live in a Muslim country, having that experience?
Yeah, I think that when I went to Medina, that way of life where all the shops closed and moved to the masjid and just the respect around there. I'll tell you one thing. I hope I not keep going off topic, but Isa said to me. You mentioned Isa earlier. He said, "Do you know what? There's something. My mind's more focused." And we were thinking, what is it? And we were discussing it for a couple of days. There's something different about this place. And do you know what? As men, going around and everyone's covered. All the women are covered. For us, it made our minds, it made us, I think, less distracted. And I know that feels like a side point, but I remember thinking, that's really interesting that, when I'm walking down the street now, it's very different to how I am here.
I think you naturally become, it's like a forced piety.
Yeah.
And it's good.
It is.
It's like, if you're forced to be good, you will become pious.
100%.
It's like, I was literally driving through London today, literally getting caught with the London jizya. I've been charged congestion charge, emissions, parking.
On a Sunday, is it congestion?
Yeah. Now it's 7 days a week. No. So anyway, the point was, right, driving through London and literally just naked people everywhere. Like wherever you look, every kind of shape, size, you name it, everyone's naked. And the Prophet ﷺ spoke about there'll be a time where people are like, they're dressed but they're naked. It's like, and that's exactly what it is. And being in a Muslim country, you automatically become more pious, because if you're doing less sins or less mistakes, your heart is becoming purified and cleaner. Yeah. And I lived in Kuwait for 3 years, and that's quite a very conservative country in the sense of there's no alcohol. People are modest. They wear hijab and abaya and etc. And it wasn't until I came back to the UK where I realised how difficult and how challenging it is to live in the UK. And the dangerous part of it is we don't even know it. If you've never lived outside, or like you said, you've experienced Medina. If you haven't experienced that, you don't realise, because this is your norm. Yeah. You're in the UK. You're used to looking behind your back at night if you're going to get robbed, or expecting a thief to come when you're at the traffic lights. you always have your wits about you,
Yeah.
right? And like I'm used to living in London, I'm used to living in Manchester, these big cities, but being out of the loop for so long, 3, 4, 5 years now, I've not been in UK living. Now when I come back to the big city, it's like I feel like a bit nervous.
It's completely different.
And I was never nervous
Yeah.
about. But I'm like, there's so many problems and issues.
Yeah.
All these challenges, as well as just trying to stay on the deen.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
remember.
for a lot of new Muslims, it's like these are like real challenges that are calling them to this,
Yeah.
you know,
Alhamdulillah.
evil. You know.
Yeah, I remember in Medina one experience that made me think, oh, and I'm sure, you know, so you tell me, would this happen in Manchester? So Hamza, we were in the hotel lobby, and he left his phone by accident, obviously on the chair or on the sofa bit. We went off. A couple hours later, we come back. It's still there. You know, it's still exactly the same. No one had touched it. And you know, we know why. And obviously, you know, I remember even that, just thinking, wow, you know. No one's even thinking of stealing that phone. Whereas here, you know, I reckon, you give it 2 minutes, that phone's, someone might hand it in, but the chances are someone might have thinking, like, oh, right, I'll take that. Finders keepers.
No, it's a difference. It's like you say, when you first go to Saudi, you think, oh, chopping hands, they beat women up and this, that and the other.
Yeah.
And when you're there, you're like, women rule.
Yeah, I was going to say that. They cross the road like this.
Yeah, and like, if a woman walks in a shop, the boss of the shop tells all the men, move, and the women have the right of way.
Exactly, that's right. I forgot to mention that. Women rule Medina, right, I saw. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm sure, I'm going to ask you a bit of a controversial question here.
Go on. Go on. I'll try.
Let me whisper first.
If you're gonna get married to 4 wives.
Okay, yeah, go on, ask me that.
So mashallah, you know, mashallah, mashallah. Mashallah, you're very fit, mashallah, you can be my personal trainer, inshallah.
Yeah.
I'm sure, mashallah, you're a very good looking man, mashallah. I was wondering if you plan on marrying 4 wives.
Yeah, I mean, the thought of that, and to be honest, my sister who's Muslim is very pro polygamy, and to be honest,
Like, she's not Muslim, right?
No, she's Muslim.
Oh,
my sister converted. It's interesting that, of hearing a sister saying she's pro polygamy and understanding the reasons why and maybe accepting it.
Subhanallah.
For me, I'll tell you what it is for me. I think the idea of 4 wives, it's fair to say, I don't want to, there might be some sisters watching, but 1 headache, 1 mother-in-law. When you asked me the question, that was the first thing that came into my mind.
Bro, that's one thing I said. Right? I said to her, brother, I said, and I mean, no disrespect to my mother-in-law, right? But I can't say. If you 4 wives, 4 mother-in-laws.
That's a thing.
It's not an English joke. It's nothing personal.
Yeah, no.
But that is an English joke, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like,
it is,
the mother-in-law.
You're supposed to not get on with them, aren't you?
It's not as easy as it seems, right? So yeah, I mean, yes.
But yeah, I think other than that, I think I'll take it one at a time.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
No, alhamdulillah, it's good that inshallah. So we hope I'm sure inshallah you won't be short of proposals, inshallah.
Yeah, I think and I think there's this common thing that I think obviously because I'm not married and so a lot of brothers, you've got to get married straight away, and I think for me, and it might be our culture as well, the idea of just meeting someone online and saying, oh, I'll marry you, is something that's alien to me. All in good time.
Inshallah. So any final comments? Anything you want to share with the viewers just before we leave?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll say thanks again for keeping in touch. It does mean a lot, I think, as a Revert, obviously, that rather than us having this conversation here, you still kept in touch, You still kept in touch. Yeah. So
I try to, if I know someone.
And I'm sure you're very busy. I had no idea you're someone that gives lectures to thousands of people, for example. At the time, I just thought I'd met you, and for all I knew, you were just a Muslim here that was giving dawa. But yeah, obviously I found out later that you are. Could you imagine we tried to have this over there?
You couldn't. That's why we came on the other side of the barrier, because I want to ask you about that. What do you think of Hyde Park? Generally,
Good question. I mean,
you have mixed feelings.
Yeah, I do have mixed feelings, and I feel like even since the 2 years that we've been since we met, I feel like it's kind of got worse in a way. There's become a real culture of people trying to come down, almost building platforms for themselves, and almost like a cheap, like a cheap fame almost down here. People are building up. But alhamdulillah, I think in terms of Muslims we have down here, in terms of Hashim, Mansour coming regularly, it's a great place, and there's still dawa. I like the visitors coming through.
Yeah.
I think the Christian Muslim thing gets boring. It's just constant each week.
Same thing every. I don't particularly like Hyde Park, but I think it's very important to have a Muslim presence here.
Yeah.
I think channels like EF Dawa, SC Dawa,
I think you're right. Yeah.
Brother Sabor, Ayera, Shamsi, Hijab. I think there's a place for it. I don't necessarily agree the way everything is done, but I appreciate all the work that all the brothers bring to the table. Yeah. And I think it's important that we do have a presence here.
Yeah.
Last week I've seen Sabor, mashallah, he brought his steps and Sabor, mashallah, he just had a crowd around him. And I felt like it was a genuine interaction he was having. And I'm not being funny, but there was no Muslims here last week, a few Muslims. Sabor was the only one debating, and he was a light in the park.
Yeah,
he was just shining. You look around the park, and Sabor was the light in the middle of all the problems. And I appreciate all the work from the brothers. As I said,
and look, I wouldn't be here sitting here possibly without I don't know, who knows, kind of Allah, but Speaker's Corner was the EF Dawa platform and SC Dawa. I was looking into the we're answering some of the questions I had.
But it is like you was mentioning before. You said it's a bubble. You described it as like a goldfish bowl. What do you mean by that?
So what I mean is, I think a lot of people are arguing in this goldfish bowl and probably not seeing the bigger picture. And I think the Christian-Muslim debate, for example, for me, the biggest threat to Muslims, as far as I know, is like liberalism and things like that. And so I think for me, that is really the area to tackle, and we've got such a strong message to deliver that message, as opposed to spending time trying to belittle another religion or belittling another. To me, I don't necessarily think that's time best spent.
I've just sat on the bench, near the coffee shop, sat there for about an hour. I had a hardcore Christian sat next to me, and a so-called ex-Muslim facing me. And what I did instead, because this Christian was trying to attack me, so I kind of engaged with the so-called apostate, with the Christian. It was weird, bro. The conversation was weird, right? But what I was basically doing is giving dawah to the Christian and the apostate at the same time. Showing him how to speak to atheists, right? At the same time, showing him what he has. And what I did there, I tried to come to common ground. Showing him that we don't believe on the fundamental principles, right, of Christianity and Islam cannot work they don't believe in the same thing. But at the same time, there's common ground, which we can meet on, a lot of morality and things like that. And as I said, I think just taking it slightly away from the hustle and bustle, the shouting, I think you can have some really good conversations here. Like we were having when we first met. We came away from the crowd, no cameras, just engaging. And I find that if you stand at the side of them and kind of engage sideways, the moment you switch to facing them, the debate is on. And everyone's taking a position and everyone's going to defend it. No one changes.
No, that's right. That's right.
So I try to be at the side and just kind of engage. And I found it very beneficial. And if you find someone who is receptive and polite and genuine, you can offer to take them to the side. I've filmed a few videos, at the side of Hyde Park. If I think that there's going to be a benefit on teaching the Muslims how to engage positively with someone sincere, as well as reaching out to the non-Muslims to show them, a decent conversation rather than shouting at each other. So, as I said, I don't think it's all or nothing. I think there's a lot of goodness here. But I also think
Yeah.
we need to review it as well. I
agree.
think all the brothers in the park should come together and kind of analyze and think about the audience as well. Because like you said, if people are watching certain content that can actually confuse them as well. So you have to think about the audience as well.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, look, it's got a special place for me because it's where I came. You know, I met you 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's something in it. I thought, you know, for me, it's just got that special kind of connection to it.
Mashallah. So I think this is the first time I've seen you as a Muslim face to face.
Alhamdulillah.
And I can see, mashallah, the light, mashallah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
He's got the, mashallah, mashallah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Well, I saw that. I've sometimes watched that video fairly recently where we first met, and it was interesting going back and seeing myself, you know, fresh face.
I'm going to watch it tonight.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a really good conversation.
Maybe I'm going to put the link actually.
Yeah, I think it's 4 parts, but it's it's a really good conversation.
Because we had a conversation even before the video.
We did.
But from what's recorded, I'll put the links below, and you can actually see, you know, that initial interaction we had, and I think it is a good memories.
Yeah, it is. I think a lot of it is me trying to get you to tell me about what happened to you personally and what you lost. And you know, when I look back, it's interesting seeing the issues I had, because like I said, I was already convinced, but I was trying to find, you know, I don't know if I was trying to find a way out, but
I think a part of it was thinking, how is it going to work once I become a Muslim?
Yeah.
How did this guy cope? What were the challenges? Because a lot of them were like about family and things like this. And
it was.
it's a worrying thing. It's a big step. I didn't tell my parents for a long time, at least a year, at least. You know, I knew they would have kicked off. You know, I told them by accident. I was tying my shoelaces, and I said, "Right, I'm going to the mosque." And the mother said, "What?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'm a Muslim."
Alhamdulillah.
And that was like,
I bet. Alhamdulillah.
so. And again, I don't advise new Muslims to jump in and feel the need to tell everyone on Facebook
get
and tell all their
grounded,
family. Learn the basics, get grounded, learn the salah.
That's right.
Inshallah.
And then you're ready.
Any final things? Anything that comes to mind?
Look, like I said, I think, you know, thank you for keeping in touch, Jazakallah khair, and
what's your channel? You've got a channel.
Jordan M, Jordan M.
Jordan M.
And obviously
on YouTube.
And
EF Dawa.
And EF Dawa is we do some streams.
We'll put the links below to the channels which Jordan is a part
Jazakallah
of.
khair.
And you can benefit from the videos.
I'm sure we'll cross paths over the years. So alhamdulillah.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khair, bro.
Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.